In today's lesson, using the story of the wolf and the 7 little kids, we will compare talking about what happened using the past simple and what was happening using the past continuous. Once upon a time, there was an old goat who had 7 little kids. She loved them very much. She cared for them every day and always watched them closely. One morning, she decided to go into the forest to find food. While she was standing near the door, she warned her children about the wolf. The wolf was dangerous and clever. He often tried to trick others. But they could recognize him by his rough voice and his black feet. The little kids nodded while she was speaking. "We will stay safe and won't open the door," they said. The mother goat felt calm, so she left the house and walked into the forest. After a short time, someone knocked on the door. A voice called from outside, "It's your mother. I've returned." The kids listened carefully to the voice. They noticed the voice was rough, not soft like their mother's. They understood that it was the wolf. "We won't open the door," they cried. "Our mother's voice is soft and gentle." The wolf became angry and walked away. He was thinking about how to trick them, so he went to a shop and bought some chalk. He ate the chalk, and his voice became softer. Then he returned to the house and knocked again. He was speaking in a softer voice this time. The kids were still careful and were looking through the window. They saw his black feet and immediately knew the truth. They refused again and said, "Our mother doesn't have black feet." The wolf was getting more frustrated. He went away and covered his feet with dough and flour. He returned to the house for the 3rd time. He knocked and spoke in a soft voice again. The kids were still being careful and asked him to show his feet. He put his white feet through the window. The kids watched closely and believed him this time. They opened the door slowly. Suddenly, the wolf jumped inside the house. The children screamed and ran in fear. Each one hid in a different place. One hid under the table, another hid in the bed. One climbed into the stove. Another ran into the kitchen. One hid inside the cupboard. Another went under the washing bowl. The youngest hid inside the clock case. The wolf was searching everywhere in the house. He found 6 of the kids and swallowed them quickly. He did not find the youngest one. After eating, he left the house and went to the meadow. He lay under a tree and was sleeping deeply. Soon after, the mother goat returned home. She was carrying food and thinking about her children. When she arrived, she saw that the door was open. The house was a mess, and things were broken. She called her children again and again. No one answered her at first. At last, she heard a small voice. "I'm in the clock case," said the youngest kid. He told her everything that had happened. The mother cried and felt very sad. Then she decided to find the wolf. She walked to the meadow with the youngest kid. They saw the wolf sleeping under a tree. He was snoring loudly while his belly was moving. The mother was looking closely at his stomach. She thought her children might still be alive inside. She quickly sent the youngest kid to get scissors and thread. When he returned, she began opening the wolf's stomach. As it was opening, one little head appeared. Then all the other kids came out one by one. They were alive and unharmed. The family was hugging and jumping with joy when the mother had another idea. She told the children to bring large stones to fill the wolf's stomach. The mother quickly sewed his stomach closed. The wolf was still sleeping and did not notice anything. After some time, he woke up and felt very thirsty. He was walking over to a well to drink water. The stones inside him were making noise as he moved. He was confused and did not understand what was happening. When he reached the well, he leaned forward to drink. The heavy stones pulled him down into the water. He fell into the well and drowned. The 7 kids were watching from a distance. They ran to the well and saw that the wolf was gone. They shouted happily that the wolf was dead. They danced around the well with their mother. The end. Thanks for watching. Want to continue your learning journey? Watch the grammar lesson. Ready for your next story? Watch this. Today's lesson will be about comparing the past simple from Lesson 1 and the past continuous from Lesson 2. Let's start by reviewing the form, looking at some sentences from our story. For the past simple, we use the past tense of a verb. Some verbs follow a pattern when forming their past tense, and some do not. The ones that follow a pattern are called regular verbs, and the ones that do not are called irregular verbs. Here are some example sentences. The kids watched him closely and believed him. The kids were still careful. For the past continuous, we use was or were plus the ing form of the verb. We have a few examples. The kid was watching him closely. The kids were being careful. But since both of them talk about the past, what's the difference? The past simple has 3 jobs. We use it to talk about finished actions, repetitions in the past, and habits in the past. The past continuous has one big job. The past continuous is used to describe actions and progress in the past. We use it to set the scene or give background information, often with interruptions or actions happening at the same time. Words that can help you know if you should use the past simple or the past continuous are called time markers. These are the time markers that go with the past simple. For example, yesterday, one day, last week, last month, last year, or long ago, which was used in the story. And these are the time markers that go with the past continuous. When, used for interruptions, and while, used for when actions are happening at the same time. Now, this is very important. If any of this feels a little confusing and you're wondering how to know when to choose the past simple or the past continuous, remember you want to focus on meaning, not just form. Also, you should know sentences with two actions can use a combination of the past simple and the past simple, or the past continuous and the past simple, or the past continuous and the past continuous. All of these are possible, but they all have different meanings. For this lesson, we will focus on the combination of the past continuous plus the past simple. Now let's practice. You have 3 exercises to complete with the answers as well. For your first round of practice, we will be focusing on background action versus main action. Your job is to choose the correct form of the verb. For the sentences labeled background, change those into the past continuous. Then the other sentence will be changed into the past simple. Let's look at the example. The mother goat go into the forest. This is the background action. She see some grass. So this becomes the mother goat was going into the forest. She saw some grass. Pause the video and complete the task, and then we'll check your answers. Here are the answers for round 1. Pause the video and check your answers. Now we'll be connecting your answers using when. For example, the mother goat was going into the forest. She saw some grass. This becomes the mother goat was going into the forest when she saw some grass. Pause the video and complete the exercise. Connect your answers using when. These are the answers to round 2. Again, pause the video and check your answers. Now we'll connect the sentences using while. Begin the sentence with while. Change the order of the sentence if needed. For example, she saw some grass. The mother goat was going into the forest. This becomes, while the mother goat was going into the forest, she saw some grass. These are your answers for round 3. Pause the video and check your answers. And now it's your turn. Tell your story. Tell us what you were doing last night. Use one background action and one main action. For example, last night I was watching a movie when my sister called. While we were talking, the pizza arrived. Thanks for watching. Want to learn the keywords from the story? Watch the vocabulary lesson, or continue on with your next story. In this lesson, we will look at some of the words and phrases that we can learn from the story of the wolf and the 7 little kids. If you'd like to listen to the full story, the link will be in the description and the first pinned comment. Let's start with these lines. But they could recognize him by his rough voice and black feet. So what is a rough voice? Think about how you sound when you have a cough or when your throat is irritated because you're sick. Now let's look at a bit of pronunciation. How do we pronounce these words? Rough, tough, and cough. In these words, the GH sounds like an F sound. So, now that we know what a rough voice sounds like, what would be the opposite? The answer was in the story. Let's take a look. They noticed the voice was rough and not soft like their mother's. And so we have our answer. The opposite of rough is soft. Also, rough and soft can be used to describe how things feel. For example, the wall is rough and the teddy bear is soft. Let's continue. The little kids nodded while she was speaking. We'll stay safe and won't open the door, they said. So what does it mean to nod? Nodding is the up and down motion we make with our head to say yes to something. So how would you say no? To say no, we shake our head from side to side. There was another word in the story that means no. Let's look at a few lines. They refused again and said, "Our mother doesn't have black feet." When someone wants to refuse or say no, you can shake your head. So, to refuse or say no, you can shake your head. But to accept or say yes, you can nod your head. Now, let's look at the items that the wolf used in the story. The first one is chalk, which is a white powdery thing. Teachers sometimes use it to write on a board. Or it's the white powdery stuff that athletes put on their hands, like in the image. The next 2 items are dough and flour. Flour is that white powder used to make bread. There are many different types. And dough is flour plus a liquid like milk or water. When you mix flour with a liquid like milk or water, you can add a little liquid like you want to make bread, or you can add more liquid like you want to make pancakes. With a little liquid, so that you can touch the mixture with your hands, this is called dough. Look at the picture to see what I mean. But when you add more liquid, like you want to make pancakes, this is called batter. Again, look at the picture to see what I mean. The last word we're going to look at today is kids. This is the name of a baby or a young goat. But we can also use it for a human child. So, a baby goat is a kid, And a baby or a young human is also a kid. Same word, two different meanings. Now let's review what we learned today. We started with the word rough, which can be used to describe a person's voice or the way something feels. And we learned that the opposite is soft, also for a person's voice or the way something feels. Next, we looked at the word nod, when you move your head up and down. We also learned the word shake, as in to shake your head, moving your head from side to side. We learned the word refuse, which is related to the word shake your head, because to refuse is to say no, and to shake your head also means to say no. And we also learned the word accept, which is to say yes, which can be related to the word nod, which is also used to accept or to say yes. We looked at the items that the wolf used, which were chalk, flour, and dough. And we learned a related word called batter. And the last word we learned was the word kid, which can be used to describe a baby goat or a baby human or a young human. Thanks for watching. Now that you understand these words, watch the story again and see how much more you understand. Or continue with your next story.